Hi, everybody. So, welcome to another exciting episode of Marketing Demystified. We are in season 2. And in today's episode, we are going to discuss marketing in publishing sector. I have two very coveted guests with me. I will shortly introduce them to you. Marketing Demystified as a channel is focused on bringing marketing in different sectors, different aspects of marketing to the audiences. And let me quickly introduce myself. I'm Harpreet. I head marketing for Kangaroo Group. I have about 22 years of experience. I have worked with different industries and different sectors and different companies in the past. Um, and I look forward to a very exciting conversation today. I have with me Vikesh Dhyani, who is ex-marketing head for LexisNexis, and he is currently heading Ogrish Publishing as a co-founder. He is going to talk about marketing of educational books with us. And I also have Lipika with me. She is ex-marketing head for HarperCollins. And currently, she is a founder of Market My Books. So welcome to both of you. In case I have missed anything, I would request you to introduce yourselves.
Thank you, Harpreet. No, I think you've covered it up well. I worked with companies like McGraw-Hill and Pearson also before, predominantly in the sales roles, and at Pearson in marketing as well. And at Lexis, yes, I was handling marketing and innovation, and where you've also been, my colleague. So thank you for inviting both me and Lipika, and I also look forward to an exciting conversation.
Sure. Thanks a lot, Vikesh. Lipika, you would like to add something?
No, thank you, Arpit. I think it was as short and sweet as it could be. I have worked with almost all brands in trade marketing, in trade publishing. So, yeah, so it's perfect.
Sure. Thank you so much. First of all, for taking time out on a Sunday evening to have this conversation. So we'll straight away start the discussion. So I'll start with Lipika. So Lipika, what drove you to marketing?
That's an interesting question. Well, because I couldn't become a doctor or an engineer, as was required in our times when we were growing up. No, seriously, I think, I always loved maths. And one thing that marketing allows you is to mix both creativity and mathematics, or if you say scientific
Analytics.
knowledge. And I think that is the reason why when I went ahead for my further studies, I elected marketing.
Great, awesome. Vikesh, what was your inclination? I mean, what drove you to marketing?
Well, I transitioned into marketing from a sales role. I landed in a sales role accidentally, in publishing actually accidentally. And when I entered, I enjoyed it so much that I never felt like going away to any other industry. And within sales, after a couple of years, I realized that I was kind of getting bored, and I wanted to try out certain new things. And that's when Pearson offered me the opportunity to head marketing for South Asia. So I just lapped it up, and it's been a fantastic journey from there on.
Great, awesome. So I'll move to the I'll ask this question to you, Vikesh. When you were heading marketing for a publishing firm like LexisNexis or your current venture with Ogrish Publishing, what is a normal structure or a typical structure of marketing team in a publishing sector?
Okay. So, see, in terms of marketing functions, publishing also has, similar specialists like any other, industry would have. So you have some core functions of marketing. So, you look at digital and social media, which is now, becoming more and more important. You look at product marketing. You look at CRM. You look at creative marketing services, where you do all the designing work and artwork, so there are different, functions within marketing. And with most publishing companies, you will have some key specialists. I think the core functions in marketing and publishing still remain to be product marketing linked. So product marketing and digital and social media marketing, these are two core functions, because product marketers are supposed to be experts on products and customers. They are the interface between the organization and the authors as well as the customers. So, they are the ones who are getting all the insights in and then structuring the value proposition accordingly to make an impact, the desired impact amongst the customers.
Great, Lipika. Was it any different with your organization, since you are specifically into generic books?
Slightly. Well, in trade publishing, because we are primarily dealing in general fiction, non-fiction, uh, there is one vertical that helps. There are specialists in publicity. So the publicists are one additional vertical, which is primarily, focused on media relationships, which is focused on general PR and building a relationship with verticals uh, external external to the organization. Internally, well, like Vikesh said, there is a digital marketer, there are product marketers, but the publicist plays a very important role in, especially in trade publishing marketing.
And I'm sure there are other subunits like new product development, then market research.
Well, new product development and market research is more a collaborative effort between an editor and sales and marketing people. So it's not you know an exclusive department or a segment or a section in that department which looks after that particular. See, in any case, the marketing teams in trade publishing are very small.
Hmm.
They're
Yes.
not large marketing teams. There are multitaskers needed in these small teams, and that is the reason why mostly uh, everybody does everything. So there is no role of a specialist, so to say, in trade publishing marketing.
But what about lead generation or events and exhibitions or trade shows? That is
Well,
also within the ambit of marketing, right?
yes, so that again is taken care of by a publicist, and so how there's a marketing head, and under that marketing head there'll be publicity people. And now, over the last couple of years, there have been additional, there have been additional resources that specialize in social media marketing. Otherwise, the publicity people used to take care of even the social media marketing. But those publicity people or the publicists are the people who uh, are supposed to be experts in events, in exhibitions, in your
Trade
media
shows.
relationships, in author management, in relationships with even service providers who help maybe provide you with space and with uh, advertisements or with creatives. A lot of it is outsourced, especially in our side of the industry. A lot of work is outsourced. So, as Vikesh shared, there may not be as many creative marketing people. I mean, people who create marketing collaterals within the organization. We may put together the content, but the actual execution of the layout and the kind of storyboards or the kind of collaterals that need to be put together are usually outsourced to people who are into designing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, so I mean, different structures. I mean, those as Lipika mentioned, depending on the size of the organization, and the uh, amount of work for marketers. I think the companies decide that how many people and resources do they want to invest in, right? So, because in educational books, for example, you have large sales force teams, right? You have a large number of authors and schools to cover. And one key role that product marketers do there is they work very closely with trainers to hold workshops in schools for creating awareness about their works, right? And so they now there's something they can't outsource, so they outsource. They invite guest lecturers, they invite external speakers, but a lot of that whole organizing, this event thing is handled by their own internal people. But right, like Lipika mentioned, trade marketing generally, trade marketing teams generally have been lean. Most of them do most of the work, and also makes them more creative. So, unlike educational teams where people have their tasks clearly cut out.
So if I were to summarize both of you, so one thing which is common is your product marketing is common, your digital and social media is common. But largely, so trade marketing is very lean. Then she also mentioned that there are publicists. So publicists are something which are more people like who are multitaskers. So other than PR, they would be managing your trade shows, your events, your exhibitions, largely.
Correct.
And then
See,
most of the
in
work is
short,
outsourced.
if you want to differentiate the kind of marketing we do for academic and for the trade publishing books, uh, there is just one major demarcation, and that is that because academic is more B2B driven,
Yeah.
whereas trade is more B2C. That's the difference.
Correct. Yeah, I
Great.
mean, academic focuses more on demand generation through marketing and sales activities, whereas trade is largely around creating awareness, ensuring visibility, driving conversations, and that's how word of mouth catches up. So both have that fundamental difference in approach.
Great. So, this question is for Vikesh, and then later on I'll move to Lipika. So, what were some of your KPIs as marketing head of the educational sector in books?
Okay, so see, with different companies, the KPIs differ. But some common KPIs are around gaining more market share. So, the segments in which you play, how are you driving adoptions growth, right? And by adoption, I mean textbook prescriptions in academic institutions, right? What are you doing to drive them up? What are you doing to accelerate your adoption process? How efficiently are you providing the relevant marketing support to the sales team so that they are more effective on ground? um, uh, uh, there was very little about corporate marketing and corporate brand building. So most of the educational publishers focus more on product sales. Their objectives are very closely tied to increase in sales revenues and market share. So most KPIs would be in those areas. Plus, lately, with the advent of digital and social media, the focus would also shift towards generating more leads, both author leads as well as reviewer leads and potential adoption leads. Especially with organizations which also have a strong digital play, where not just print offerings, but they also have substantial online offerings or online solutions, right? Like professional companies that I've been a part of. Their marketing actually tends to become more like software marketing, right? So you actually look for strategic alliances and partnerships with relevant bodies. You try and ensure that your solutions are exhibited and demonstrated at all leading industry conferences and other such events. You showcase your authors and your in-house experts as speakers and thought leaders in that area. So that's all of that then comes under your marketing domain, right? And as Lipika mentioned, publicity also happens to be an important criteria and a priority there. But then I mean, for example, hired a PR agency, rather than insourcing that work, because I thought it'll be easier for me to go with somebody who knew, what needs to be done, right? But then again, I had the budgets to be able to do that, right? If it was a smaller company, I would have again, preferred to insource it and then spend more time. So yeah, so largely that.
So, market share, sales, then lead generation
Yeah,
primarily.
correct.
What about you, Lipika? Is it similar, or was there any difference?
Well, as far as providing support to the sales team is concerned, or creating strategies to increase the market share, of course, there are similarities. But where we differ is, our focus in terms of our KPIs. The focus had to be how visible the product is at the retail end, in the media, uh, at festivals and other platforms, speaking platforms, which used to which focus in this particular segment. So those were a few things in addition to what Vikesh mentioned, as the KPI. So visibility, largely improving visibility. Of course, I mean, how soon the book went on to become a bestseller. So that was the key criteria to judge whether the marketing has been effective. Um Today, times have changed. Up until say a couple of years ago, we had to wait for say a month or so to realize whether and find out whether the book has gone on to become a bestseller. But today, you get to know on the first day of the release itself through Amazon whether your marketing efforts, and a lot of it has also moved from post product launch marketing to pre product launch marketing.
Correct.
So these are the few KPIs that we
Got it.
had in trade publishing.
So I'll have this next question for you to take up first, Lipika. What is a good marketing budget in your industry? And you can go by a percentage of revenue. Is it 1 to 5%, 5 to 10%, or more than 10%? I know
Uh,
marketing,
can I can I can I share a backstory? I came from an industry almost now what 17 years ago. I came from an industry which had really large budgets in marketing, and it was a shocker when I joined publishing, where I was told that we were, especially in trade publishing, where I was told that I only have budgets for say a few five-star events, depending on the profile of the writer, and bookmarks and posters. So from there to coming to a point where we used to chalk out budgets and say set aside say anywhere between 5 to 7%, to now working closely with a lot of publishing houses, and especially some of the largest publishing houses, where uh, I don't think they've gone even more conservative in the kind of percentages they set aside for marketing. So there's been a lot of change, that I've seen in the last 17 years. But ideally, what I truly believe is that in trade publishing, if a publishing house is able to very, very clearly chalk out a budget of say about 5 to 7%, I think it should do. It should be good. It's a good budget to have in order to ensure that some of your top line works well.
what is your take on this, Vikesh?
I tend to agree with Lipika. I think she's right. I mean, in some of my large organizations, my marketing budgets actually were higher, but I would try and accomplish my marketing goals much below those budgets, largely by virtue of getting into some strategic partnerships and deals with professional bodies, whereas I was able to leverage their marketing networks and their events without really spending much money, from my organization. So I've typically handled budgets in the range of 3 to 5% in some large organizations. However, I'm also of the view that a lot depends on the potential of the book, right? And these days, so okay, so one point that Lipika made was that in trade, you can quickly see the success of your marketing, and you can quickly judge whether a book is a bestseller or not, because the sales have to happen immediately, right? That's how trade books are meant to be. Educational books, on the other side, generally take time to get adopted in institutions, get reflected in syllabi prescriptions, and then the sales happens over a period of time. So their initial adoption is slow, but then they, become a strong backlist over a period of time, right? That's the main, difference. However, what I'm also seeing is that in certain categories like test prep, for example, these books have become more annual editions. What we realize now is that there are certain companies which have figured out that it perhaps makes sense to invest early on in more aggressive marketing in those category of books, to be able to reap the benefits early, and then time your book according to the seasonality of the demand. So if if books get picked up at a certain time when coaching institutions are attracting more new students and building batches, maybe that's the time when you do more aggressive marketing, rather than do it later. So
To
but in
add
terms
to
of,
this, Harpreet, I think one thing that I would like to definitely mention is that the things have also, from the perspective of marketing, changed quite a bit over the last decade or so.
correct,
Especially with the advent of social media, there are a lot of books that fall into the category of going viral,
correct,
and there, the budgeting, obviously you don't have to, so we have to have a very clear understanding of what will work, what kind of marketing mix will work for a particular book.
right,
And today, I mean, unlike say a decade ago where we could allocate budgets depending on the perceived number or the targeted number that we wanted to achieve out of that book, today we don't really have to depend on the numbers or the sales that we want to achieve out of it, but the budgeting can happen more from the perspective of understanding the content better. A lot of it, you are able to you're able to save a lot of money in spending, and the marketing spend, you can save a lot of marketing spend if you are if it's a book which has potential to go viral on social media. So
correct,
if it's topical, if it's on politics, if it's on history, something that allows to generate that word of mouth over the social media, then I think there your expenses are in control. In some books, you have to put in more money because you have to ensure that it is physically available. The author needs to travel to talk about the book in order to make the end consumer aware of what the book is about. So a lot has changed in terms of how you budget for marketing, and the kind of mix that you are eventually creating for a particular book. So as Vikesh very rightly said, it's become very book specific today, in terms of budgeting as well. It's no longer dependent only on one aspect of the numbers that
yeah.
we want.
So if I
I,
were to yeah,
Yeah, sorry.
sorry,
I'll just
go
add
ahead.
one point. I think publishers have also realized that, no mechanical, approach would really help here, right? So they also pick their bets wisely. And you would find that, authors play a strong role in marketing their own books now, right? Promoting their own works, right? These days, publishers prefer authors who already have a strong fan following on social media, because that makes job of marketer far more easy, right? Yeah, so I mean, the publishers have realized that it is important to pick and choose their bets wisely.
Mm.
So which are the books where you're going to invest more, and which are the books where you're going to do, some bit of regular marketing, right? For sure that those books may not have the potential to become a huge bestseller, right? And typically, the Pareto's concept works everywhere, right? So
Definitely.
you would have your 10-20% of works which will give you 80% of your revenue, right? The smartness lies in finding,
Which one?
which of those 10, which are those books, which fall in that 10 to 20% bracket, right? So picking your bets wisely. Yeah,
Right, right.
So it's more
So
about smart marketing.
correct.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
So anywhere between 3 to 7 or 3 to 10%, right? Because you said 3 to 5 and she said 5 to 7. So anywhere between 3 to 7%. The second bit, which both of you agreed on, is that you have to choose where you want to spend your budgets, because obviously marketing has always been a cost center, right? We are always running on frugal budgets, no matter which company, which industry, and which sector. So we have to be very wise in what that marketing mix is
Correct.
going to look like, and which products which we are going to bet on, right? So the next question is, maybe Vikesh, you can take this up first. What are the main activities were done by you when you were heading marketing of a publishing firm?
Okay. See, when I transitioned into a marketing role first time, I came with a sales background. I had no idea about marketing. I was married to a marketer, so I knew something about product marketing, but I hadn't independently handled marketing. I had assisted, some of my bosses earlier for some stopgap arrangement, in between when they were not able to find the right marketing talent. So one thing that I did was I picked up ropes. I decided to invest in myself and learn more about marketing. Thankfully, I was in an industry where some of the finest books on marketing were published by my own company, including Philip Kotler's, marketing management, which is like a Bible for any marketer. In fact, interestingly, Philip Kotler's first South Asia edition was about to be published, and it was given to me as my first major responsibility when I joined Pearson. And the challenge was that we also had another company back then in the same industry, which used to be known as Prentice Hall of India, which was publishing the same book. So there were actually two companies publishing the same book, right? And because we belonged to the original parent, company who had acquired all the rights, we were restricted by the parent company for not reprinting the exact edition. So we were actually given a diktat that we had to do an adapted edition, so that the books don't get leaked out from India, to the Western world. And we were up against a competitor who was doing a reprint edition. So my biggest challenge, and this big concern that we had in the management team, was that what if people reject this South Asia edition and say, we don't want any diluted edition, we don't want any Indianized edition, we want the original authentic reprint edition which your competitor is giving. So I was up against my own book, right? And so one of the things that I quickly did was, and I was given a 2-month window that this adapted edition was going to be out in 2 months' time, and whatever I had to do, I had to do within that 60-day period. So one thing that where I moved quickly was to gather as much support from instructors who were adopters of our book, in a manner in which we made them a part of the product development cycle. So I collaborated very closely with editors, and we sent out review copies, advanced review copies, pre-publishing copies to over 200 people across South Asia. So 200 leading marketing professors were sent a copy of the forthcoming South Asian edition, right? We asked for their review comments and we asked for their testimonials if they liked and endorsed the book. About 120 of them came back in time, strongly recommending that edition. So that took care of a large part of our bigger concern, that if these leading marketing professors were willing to switch over to the adapted edition, then that takes care of a major part of a concern that this possible backlash that we were expecting will not happen, right? A lot of them felt more attached to the project because their views were asked for and their names were printed in the a list of acknowledgements. They felt more than happy to recommend the book to their students and their peers. So they actually became our brand ambassadors. So that I fondly recall that experience, and I don't want to cite numbers, but we broke all records that year, with that adapted edition. And while our competitor was still doing the exact replica of the US version, they were nowhere close. They were nowhere close. And we were able to craft a very clear value proposition that the adapted edition had more relevant examples, relevant case studies, more relevant to relate to, right? And that really worked in our favor. And then it opened doors for other books, and most of the other leading books also similarly started getting adapted.
Yeah, so I think it's a wonderful experience, and I'm sure the authors the audience would love hearing some insights into that. But as a marketeer, how was your day structured? If let me just rephrase the question, what were the
Oh,
main
sorry.
activities you were involved in?
Got it. So yeah, so I got digressed. Sorry about that. Essentially, look, what I was on a day-to-day basis, my priorities were to look at products were coming in, so have more regular interactions with editorial teams, do a frequent product analysis and look at whether salespeople were promoting these new titles effectively or not, in which territories, which geographies were these books getting promoted. I also worked in building a CRM system for that company at that point in time, so that we were able to capture all the insights of salespeople. So wherever they were giving books to instructors, all of that was getting captured. Whatever conversation that they were having with the instructors, all of that was getting captured. So my marketing's job was to mine all that information, extract all the insights, and then redo the value proposition wherever it was required. We were also able to cross pollinate and share learnings from one territory in one region with others. So if someone was doing one good things in product feedback, we were pushing it across all other territories also. So we were able to accelerate and amplify the learnings being extracted from one territory into all the other territories. My day would typically consist of having one round of meeting with all my direct reports to understand that what were the core things they were working on, and to discuss with them about any immediate priorities that the company had at that point in time. We were also responsible for deciding which books to be reprinted, the original books from US and UK, which ones would be more relevant for reprinting in India if the editorial teams were falling short on their original publishing plan. So that we would go out, meet some instructors, look at the curriculum of a particular category that we wanted to get in or become more strong in, and then look at where were the gaps and which products would we be able to fill those gaps with. And so most of the time would happen get spent on internal as well as external customer interactions.
Great. So anything you would like to add to that, Lipika? How would typically your day look like? I mean, what are the main activities you were engaged as a marketeer or as a marketing head?
See, every day I think one thing that was different from what Vikesh mentioned was, apart from the team meets, apart from your internal interactions with your other departments, and especially the sales and editorial department, because we ensured that we worked very closely with them to develop any strategies or understand the market dynamics better. Typically, every day, I think what was different for us was the PR and networking exercise. So in trade publishing, a lot depends on relationships. So we had to step out and meet media heads. We had to step out and meet authors. We had to step out. In fact, I ensured that because I came from a very different industry, a white goods and consumer durables industry, and coming into an industry where marketing was very restricted to their own department and within the organization or the office space. I think one thing that I try to bring a change in is that they had to step out and visit a bookstore, because unless you go to the counters and you observe consumer behavior, you will not be able to become a better marketer. So I think a lot of these exercises were part of our daily routine. Of course, events used to be a very important aspect in marketing in those days. So today, it's more about So what we did with events in those days, today we do it with social media, learning new tricks, learning new, getting new tips on how to do things better is how we spend our day on.
Great. Excellent. Excellent. So I would start with Lipika for the next question. So what are the top three campaigns in your marketing career? Since you mentioned that earlier you were with an FMCD industry, and later on you moved to publishing. So maybe you can take examples from both.
Well, I would rather restrict my answer to publishing, and I think two of the three that I mentioned here are campaigns for which we won an international award. So one was the White Tiger campaign. The White Tiger is a book written by Arvind Diga, for which he won the Man Booker Prize. And the other one was Johnny Gone Down by Karan Bajaj, the campaign that we put together for publicity and promotion of that book. The third one is a more recent book, Brave Hearts of Bharat. The strategies and the marketing mix have been very different for all three. But yes, these are the three big campaigns because all of them resulted in surprisingly huge numbers, um, the sales figures.
Great, thank you. Vikesh, what were your top three marketing campaigns?
I think I've already covered one of them, in the previous question about Philip Kotler's South Asia edition. The I'll only talk about one other thing. It was not really a book specific thing, but more of a online solution. So I hope you would recall, launch of Lexus Green. These were expensive ebooks on pen drives made more affordable for the legal fraternity. I'm extremely proud of that campaign where we were able to create enough awareness amongst lawyers about using legal content in a digital media, especially in times when people were not very keen to adopt the concept of a subscription service. So I still remember, I would meet customers and I would tell them that, this content would come to you as a service. And they were like, so what happens after my subscription is over? Where all my ebooks vanish? And I was like, well, yeah, in the online space, that's how it works, right? So you get access to content, updated content, frequently updated content, till the time your subscription is on. Once the subscription stops, the content access stops, right? But when we realized that a lot of people had that challenge, in order to bridge that, that initial gap, we thought it will be good to move them to offline, ebooks, which could be loaded on their own systems, right? And that's where I think Lexus Green came in very handy. So that's one thing that I'm really, really proud of.
Great. Thank you so much. And with this question, we come to the end of segment one. So we will connect again for segment two. Thank you so much for those interesting insights.
Thank you, Harpreet.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.